How many projects do you manage right now? And how do you feel about it? You are likely overwhelmed and stressed. I totally get it. In 12 years of my career, I had a moment when I managed 7 projects at once. So let me share some practical tips that helped me transition from this chaos of juggling multiple projects to a predictable routine. But before we dive in, let me share one secret that I learned in the process. You see, this feeling of overwhelm doesn't come from the actual amount of work. It's all about how you store and manage your own tasks. Just addressing this simple problem will reduce this overload that you feel. Our brains struggle to store information, especially tasks, promises, and commitments. This leads to constant anxiety. And the solution? Get into the habit of writing down all your tasks. I have used ClickUp for many years because it allows me to create a task at any moment. Moreover, it can convert an email, web page, or screenshot or document into a task. So I capture everything I need to do as soon as it floats in my mind. This way, I eliminated this never-ending anxiety and distraction caused by my brain constantly reminding me about those uncaptured tasks. So the solution is find a tool to transfer tasks from your brain into an app or a notebook. So now my mind was at ease and I was ready to solve problems. But at the same time, the to-do list started to grow to enormous proportions. So yes, it was all the needed work I was doing anyway. I've just noticed how much was on my plate. Obviously, not every task needs to be done today, so I needed a way to focus my attention and my team's attention on the most important tasks. That's why I implemented the following two-step process. And here's another secret. Even back then, I already knew the most powerful way to manage a project. Always work toward tangible deliverables. So, as the first step, I listed all major deliverables for each project and created a milestone chart. Also, I added the most important meetings and events to it. Then I printed this chart and put it on the whiteboard in the office for everyone to see. The second step is more challenging, but if you want to be a senior level project manager someday, you must start practicing it today. As I said, not every task needs to be done today. But what's even more important is that not every task on my to-do list needs to be done by me. By the way, that reminds me that there's actually the third step in this process, but let's discuss it in a moment. Let's finish this section first. So, when I looked at the milestone chart on a strategic level, I realized that I could assign whole deliverables to some team members. So, as the second step, I started with internal, mostly technical deliverables and fully delegated them to one of senior level developers, including communication with customers and internal stakeholders. Obviously, this delegation didn't happen magically and automatically. You do need to properly delegate, educate, empower, and support these developers. So it's a long-term investment. Nevertheless, it had a tremendous effect on my workload. Moreover, I remember that during those years I developed this special mindset that I now teach in my courses. It's called Delegate Everything to focus on what's important. So, going forward, I delegated everything except project management approach, building leadership hierarchy, and keeping clients happy. Alright, and this third step that I mentioned is actually a funny byproduct of this whole approach. You see, not every task on your to-do list needs to be done. More than half of the tasks that people put on you don't contribute to the project success, so you can ignore them. That's why I don't reply to all emails the same day. Instead, I let them marinate a bit. And if it doesn't feel urgent or I'm overloaded with more critical tasks, I leave it until I get a reminder. And as I said, the reminder doesn't come half of the time. Okay, now it's time for you to contribute. Please answer one simple question. How many projects do you manage right now? Pause the video and write the number in the comments below. because your answer will help me create more valuable videos for you. Thank you for your participation. Alright, just like you, when I had those 7 projects to manage, I searched articles and videos on how to manage multiple projects. And the problem was that they all provided tips and tricks for plan-driven projects. They assumed that all projects had a plan for at least the next few months. However, I'm in the IT industry and we use Scrum and Kanban. Things change every day and projects are shorter in most cases. So those tips didn't address how to stay on top of the project's progress and all those changes. That's why I had to find a solution that works in the real world. But I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So instead I optimized how I use the existing prescribed meetings. So you guessed it, I'm talking about upgrading your daily stand-up meetings. Alright, first of all, I started using 4 engagement levels depending on the workload I had. If I had time, I participated in all the meetings, but they were laser-sharp updates only. Yeah, who would think that following prescribed Scrum approach would actually work? But if you have 7 projects, you'll end up with 7 daily stand-up meetings, which would take 2 or 3 hours every day, which is not feasible. So I grouped smaller projects into one meeting. It reduced the logistics and saved time. The third level is when I participate only in top priority projects. That's the most practical approaches for me. Because based on the milestone chart, I would select 1 or 2 projects to work closely with. But do remember that all other projects already have designated leaders. The fourth level is when I do not participate in daily meetings at all. Instead, I get meeting notes that list all the problems, risks, and impediments. Obviously, on the fourth level, you must have a dedicated person who acts as a Scrum Master. Next, in all 4 engagement levels, there was one critical rule. And the general idea is that a daily stand-up meeting is all about status updates. And if there is a problem, we schedule a follow-up meeting. But again, you don't have the capacity to participate in all those meetings. So the general rule was this: if a team wanted me to participate in such a meeting, they had to specify what they expected from me. This way I stopped wasting time in technical discussions where I cannot contribute, or brainstorming sessions where I'm not a top subject matter expert. As a result, I switched to working one-on-one with team leaders where we quickly reviewed the solution the team generated. And in general, I focused more on developing these new leaders to manage parts of the project rather than managing everything myself. It might sound counterintuitive, because you give those team leaders additional work and assign additional responsibilities. Logically, they should be unhappy about. However, the outcome is completely different if you select the right people, because they are highly motivated by these responsibilities, authority, and the freedom they get to express themselves as professionals. But here's a real problem you'll have to deal with. All these tips and tricks require additional effort from you today. So you'll have to invest some extra work to reap the benefits and reclaim extra hours from your busy schedule. And there is a quick way to optimize your time management skills. You simply need a tested and proven tool. That's why you need to watch this video next, where I'll show you how I organize my work using this project management tool.